Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Betsy McKeown, and I am an engineer in the City of Annapolis's Public Works. I'm also the project manager for the new Public Works maintenance facility. Today, we will be providing an overview of the proposed project at 39 Hudson Street. The new Public Works maintenance facility will house the maintenance and operations functions for the City of Annapolis Department of Public Works, including the Streets Division, Traffic Control and Maintenance, Facilities Repair, Fleet Maintenance, Water Distribution and Meter Reading, Sewer Collection, Stormwater Maintenance, Street Can Collection, Street Sweeping, Snow Removal, and a new salt barn. The city purchased the property at 39 Hudson Street earlier this year, and this location provides an excellent opportunity to bring the Public Works Street Services Division, Fleet Maintenance, and Utilities crews to one centralized location in an already industrial area. We anticipate planning and design to take us approximately 1 year, and we hope to break ground spring of 2021 and complete construction by summer of 2022. The city procured the design build team through a competitive procurement process, and the team consists of Builder Guru and Gardner Contracting, Hammond Wilson Architects, and Bay Engineering. We have members of the design build team on this video meeting today, as well as Marsha Patrick, who is the acting Public Works Director. Let's see who else is on. Donovan Harold from Public Works, Kevin Scott from Planning and Zoning. I will hand over the meeting to the design build team, who will present the site layout and building design, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. At the very end of the presentation, there will be a slide with my contact information, and you are welcome to submit comments and questions by July 2nd. Thank you, and with that, I will hand it over to the design build team.
Thank you, Betsy. I'm going to turn my screen on. This is Leo Wilson with Hammond Wilson Architects, and today we're going to run you through the design as it sits today, so that you can provide comment and have questions answered through the process that Betsy just described. So the hope is that everyone can see this screen. Move this up to the side. Okay. So as Betsy described, we're going to run through the design today. I'll start with a brief description of the program that we're going to put in place on site. The facility is going to include 2 buildings and some other amenities on site. Building 1 is the primary building, and that includes function space for the administrative offices and the large maintenance shop for the city's vehicles. Building 2 is vehicle storage. It's a separate building. It doesn't have function other than putting the buildings out of the weather. So part of it is heated and part of it is not heated. Some of the city trucks need to be kept warm during the winter months. Another element that goes on site is a salt barn. We can store 1,000 tons of salt, and it has to be covered in a way that's easily accessible. So when we need it, we can get to it. And then finally, storage bins for aggregates and other components the city uses in bulk. And so they're situated around the site so that we can get access to those from the larger trucks, and we can do it on site easily. Other things that happen on site, we've got parking for city vehicles, employee spaces, and visitor parking. So you'll see that spread out around the site. One of the items we wanted to make sure we pointed out is a large concern for the city as we looked at this property was environmental concerns. So we're setting the building up to be LEED certifiable at the silver level, which is a high level. There is attention to issues like stormwater management, forest conservation, and green building practices. And Terry Schumann from Bay Engineering will talk about some of those items today. So if we look at an aerial photograph, you can see here's Route 50 and then here's West Street. And so if we come off of Hudson Street, you can see that the site is tucked further back in away from West Street. The interesting thing about this property is that it was initially being developed by a private company. And after they got into the process, they elected to take another path, so it became available for the city. So a large portion of the site has been through a grading permit process and is cleared. So there's a bit more clearing to do in this area. But the good news is a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the site work has been completed. Little closer shot here, you can see the graded area. And then I'm going to turn this over to Terry Schumann and let him tell you a little bit about what's happening with the site plan. So there's the slide. And then Terry, if you just want to tell me when to click through, I'll do it.
Yeah, and Leo, just follow along with the arrow. Sometimes it might help to point to things since I can't control that, I don't think. So my name's Terry Schumann, Principal, Bay Engineering Incorporated. I'm civil engineer, site engineer for the project as part of the design team. Just want to orient you to the site. Leo did a little bit of the overall, but we're located at 39 Hudson Street. So Hudson Street is a county-owned road, goes from West Street, and then there's a cul-de-sac at the end. So it's just a dead-end road. It's right at this property is right at the limits of the city and county borders. So the properties to the north or closest to Hudson Street are all in the county, and the county city line runs along this property line, up along Hudson Street, and then down south along the BG easement line. So on the north side, you have Hudson Street. On the east side is the 66-foot wide overhead power lines. You see those lines as you go across Route 50 all the time. Those carry through this property along the eastern boundary. To the south is a floodplain wetland area. This is a tributary to Weems Creek and Cowhide Branch, where it goes into the Severn River. So our site eventually drains just south of the Route 50 overpass over Weems Creek and drains out to the Severn. And then to the southern boundary is the wooded area. That's all the wooded area. That's all been preserved with the previous development. And then back along Hudson Street, there's some industrial properties up along Hudson Street. So our property is zoned industrial, I-1 industrial district, 6.9 acres in total size. We are a permitted use as a special exception. So this project will be going through the special exception process through the city of Annapolis with further public hearings on the use. We are not located within the Chesapeake Bay critical areas. We're outside the 1,000-foot buffers around the critical areas. We're close to it, but we're outside of it. And I think this plan also just touches a little bit on the just on the other side of the stream on the south is the old Capitol building. So that might orient you to the property. That's the Capitol building, now the Monarch Academy School. Just another feature to locate it. As indicated before, this site was previously developed with a warehouse. It did go through the permit approval process. They did get a grading permit, and they did start the clearing. They basically did the phase 1 clearing, set up the sediment controls, and then subsequently the city bought the property from there. So there is an active grading permit on the property, and we will continue to process this and revise that grading permit accordingly. Leo, if you could go to the second page, the next slide. This is, go one before that. So that's the grading. This is the grading plan. And I'm really not going to talk much about this. Just shows the grades. Everything slopes from Hudson Street down to the creek. And I think the next plan is a better plan. I'll explain the plan further. So this is just a colored rendering, same plan. Off of Hudson Street, we will have 2 access points, basically in and out. They're both access for the vehicles coming into the site. Building 1 is the one closest to Hudson Street. That Leo will get a little bit more into the meats and bones of that building. Building 2 is a vehicle storage building in the back. And then we have circulation around the site with parking for all the employees that come to work and then pick up the trucks and go out on the roads to do their work. All the way to the south is the bin, or south is the stream and the wooded area, and then to the west is the wooded area. But we're proposing a salt dome material storage bin, and that shaded gray, darker area there, that'll be the gravel. Everything else will be paved. That's sort of the work area. That's where the vehicles come in and pick up the storage materials, and in winter, they use it for the salt. The access road down at the bottom is just an access road to what we call a step pool conveyance system. I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute when we talk about stormwater. And again, we have the access roads out to Hudson Street. This site will be served by public water and sewer. City services are already in Hudson Street, and they will provide the water and sewer service for this project. As far as stormwater management goes, like I said before, everything slopes toward the south, toward the stream. So it's kind of a tiered elevation down. Building 1's a little higher than building 2, and then it slopes down to the stream from there. We are, again, previously on the previous permit, when they applied for their permits, they were providing 100% stormwater requirements. Now with this redevelopment that we're proposing for the city, we will go under the new guidelines. So we will be providing 125%. That's the new city requirements. We will be complying with those for our environmentally sensitive design volume, or ESD volume is what we're calling it. So our stormwater concept approaches several different facilities. It's sort of a treatment train starting from the top. We have a microbio up in the corner. That green portion of the building will be a green roof over top a portion of that admin building. And then we have some bioretentions around the perimeters, and all this is being collected and then funneled down to the south. We have microbio areas. We got 4 microbio areas. We have an underground storm filter system. A storm filter system is basically a treatment facility with cartridges that have carbon in them, and they treat the stormwater. We have underground storage facility that's tied to that for the flows of the runoff, and all that is treated together, and then it outfalls into this what we call a step pool conveyance system. It's sort of you might be seeing these more and more around. These are step pools. They come down in grade, made up of sand, filter material, rock, and stone, and they step the material, the flow down, reduce the flow rates, and also provide stormwater retention as well. That does go into the wetland area, and there is an impact on the wetland area down there. Previously, that was permitted, and we are not proposing any change to that impact. That permit has already been issued, and we will rely on that permit when we build that step pool conveyance system. Leo, if you go off to the 4th slide, I'll talk a little bit about forest conservation. So this slide, again, is the same layout, and we just added some color. Again, the previous site established forest conservation on this property, and in doing that, they did provide a platted forest conservation easement area. With this development, there's a need to go into that area, and that's identified with that teal color right there. So that's a 0.5 acres of that easement area will be disturbed. And that's needed to get the functions and the program needed for this facility. With that disturbance, there will be a specimen tree and a couple of significant trees that will get disturbed in that area. And we're currently going through the city's forest conservation program and for review and approval of that part of the project. What this plan represented, so in yellow, is going to be all the proposed forest retention on the property. So these are all forested areas that will remain forested. The teal, as I indicated before, was the 0.5 acres of previously platted wood area that we will be disturbing. So in disturbing that ½ acre, we need to mitigate at a 1-to-1 or greater. So there's no net loss of forest, and we plan to do that. With that green area will be a mitigation area, and up along Hudson Street, there's 3, those identify as street trees. So with the street trees and that green forested area, we will exceed the removal that we're proposing and provide a greater than a 1-to-1 mitigation back to the forest conservation. So we'll actually have we'll actually add some forest out there as opposed to reducing it at the end of the day. So with that said, I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me present, and I'll turn it back over to Leo.
Great, thanks, Terry. So I'm going to now walk you through the buildings in a little bit more detail than the site plan showed. And so we'll start with building 1. And as I said, this building has 2 primary functions to it. First is office space at the front of the building for the people at Public Works who work out of offices and don't work in the field. So you'll enter the building over here. We've got an elevator lobby and reception. We've got meeting rooms and offices that line the front of the building and come around to the side. There's 2 stairs that go up through the building, and then there's space that connects for the people who work in the field that provides locker room space, toilet room facilities, and those types of amenities that make it possible for them to come in, get ready for work, and then go out in the field and do what they need to do. Going towards the back of the building, we come into what I'll call the workroom of the building, or the service maintenance area. So in this building, we're able to service all of the city's owned vehicles. So there's room for some of the cars that the inspectors use, some of the trucks that are for smaller projects for Public Works. And then also we have the ability to service some of the larger vehicles the city owns, like the ladder trucks from the fire department. So all of these services will now be taken care of in a single facility. So other amenities we have here, we've got meter room for the water meters. The city is responsible and Public Works is responsible for those. Tool rooms and some other spaces we need to make this building function. Entry points for vehicles are here and then along the back. And this will become more clear when I show you other drawings. On the second floor in the front, again, we come up the stair or the elevator. We've got more offices along the front. We've got restroom facilities and locker room facilities again on this level. And then we have a break room in the upper corner here. And this is actually a meeting room. So we've got a place for people to be able to prepare food, just small meals. And then also this is a community meeting room. So this will be available to the community for meetings when they need to do that. So that's a nice bonus for the community. Mechanical space is located again in the maintenance facility in the back. And a lot of this space is quite tall because we need to be able to lift the trucks inside that space. So only the small corners at the top and bottom here along the left side are enclosed space on the second floor. Then the roof plan, really the interesting part about this building is in an attempt to achieve an economy of scale with the build, the office piece in the front will be built in a more conventional manner. And then the back is a pre-engineered metal building. And these have proven to be the most economical way to provide large enclosed spaces. So that's what's proposed, the 2 buildings joined together. And then the flat roof portion here for the office will be a green roof. And that's to do 2 things. One, help treat stormwater. And the second is to help achieve the LEED certification for green building certification as required by the city. So these are quick elevations we've prepared. Again, we're early in the design phase. So from the front elevation, you can see the entry point, the offices that stretch across the front, and then the second story offices with the meeting room over here. And then in the back, you can see the pre-engineered metal building form. It's one that's familiar to most people. The rear elevation follows those same lines. And here you see the large bay doors that will allow the trucks to come in and out. The side elevations follow the same pattern. So you'll have the front over here is our office space. These are the side of the pre-engineered metal building or our maintenance facility. There are windows up high to provide natural light and allow a little more daylight into the space so we don't have to pay to turn the lights on all the time. And then on the other side, it just follows the same pattern. Here's the end of the office space. And this is the second door into the maintenance facility for the smaller vehicles when the larger ones are in, blocking the other doors. This is a plan of building 2. And you may recall I mentioned that we have a second building for indoor storage of some vehicles. There's 2 sections to this building. There's a portion over here that's heated. And there are several vehicles and trailers and things of that nature that the city owns and uses on a regular basis that need to be kept warm and conditioned in the winter months so they're ready for use. So this section has those trucks and equipment pieces in it. And then there are others that we'd like to keep covered so they're ready for immediate use. One I can think of immediately is the loaders that would be needed to put the salt into the trucks. We need to make sure they're ready and available and not covered with snow. So there are some other vehicles that go in there. And then off to the bottom, you can see the parking, and then the other facilities for salt storage are off to the side. You can see that in the key plan. There's building 2, and there's the salt storage, and then there's the storage bins for that large bulk items. Elevations of building 2, again, follows a similar pattern. This is also a pre-engineered metal building. We've used larger doors to cut down the number of them. So each one of these facilitates the entry of 2 vehicles. And then the opposite side, there's some storage space that comes in from the end. So there's one door here, large doors overhead here. And then the ends of the building, there's a pedestrian door over here, and then 2 doors into the building. So what I'm going to show now are some, sometimes the elevations are a little difficult to read. So we've built a model, and we're going to show you how that works. This somewhat pixelated image is kind of from a Google Earth file. And so you can see this is the site where the area is cleared. The road looks a little odd here, but what I'm going to do is turn on the 3D model of the buildings as they sit on the site. So as Terry mentioned, these are our entry points off of Hudson Street, one here and one here. Here's our parking area in front of the building for visitors. As you go past this building, you can see building 2 off to the side. You can see the storage bins and the salt storage facility over in the corner. This is a close-up view of the entry. So you can see that, you know, it's a pretty straightforward design. We've tried to keep it simple in an attempt to achieve some economies here, but we still think it's quite handsome. The front piece is where most of the activity outside of the maintenance facility will happen. So people can come in and interact with the people of Public Works here and then park out front. This is the opposite end of the building, and you can see we've got just in the back here, this is that entry point for the smaller vehicles, access outside to get to them from parking for employees, bike racks as required by the city, and some other kind of stuff off in the back you'll see in the next slide. So this is kind of the nuts and bolts of what's happening out here. Here's the large bays for the vehicle entry, and you can see, you know, these are scale elements for a pump truck and a ladder truck, and there is no facility in town right now that will allow these to come in and get serviced, and so this will give us an opportunity to do that regardless of the weather. This is building 2 or B, and so this is the back of the building. So you might remember Terry talked about the step pools that would happen off to the side. This is a little bit lower than building A, still follows the same forms, pre-engineered metal panels, and then off to the end you can see the salt containment facility to keep it dry. Another view of that building, so you can see these are the other side doors, and then you'll see building 1 over in the distance here. Again, all of these buildings are designed in a way to enhance their environmental, I guess I would say, benefit. And by that, I mean they're highly insulated buildings. All of the materials are largely recyclable. So, and we're using elements that include recycled content already. And all of these are to make the whole building more green and to achieve the LEED standard that the city requires. This is a shot of a higher shot of the back of building 1. And then an overall shot from a little bit higher for building 1. And this gives you a sense of how the buildings relate to each other. Here's the green roof component I spoke about early on. And then here's the loop road that comes back around and out. So that's everything we wanted to show you about the buildings. If I've missed something, I'm going to ask that the rest of my team members let me know. Can you think of anything I've missed? Okay, so everyone seems to think we've got everything. This is an unusual process given current circumstances, and normally this would be done in person and we'd be able to listen to your questions and provide responses so that, you know, that it's more of a dialogue. In this case, we don't have that opportunity. So what we're asking the public to do is to review the information, and you can look at this and go back through it on YouTube. And then if you can collect your questions or comments and direct those to Betsy, and this is her email address here. And what we'll do is we'd like to get those comments back as early as possible, but no later than July 2. And that way we can take your comments and incorporate the ones that are appropriate into the project as we move forward. So please feel free to do that, and look forward to hearing what you have to say. On behalf of the whole project team, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to review the information with us. And again, if there's questions or comments, we're happy to have them and to respond. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Betsy.
Thank you all for your time, excuse me, today. And again, as Leo said, if you have any comments or questions, please try to get them to me by July 2nd. And with that, I think that we will conclude today. Marcia, did you want to say anything else?
I'd just like to add that I think it's wonderful to get some public comment on this. We're really excited about our new facility. So please send any comments that you might have to Betsy, and we'll incorporate whatever we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.